Hello, and welcome to The Artist Pivot, a weekly conversation with artists about their current pivot, past pivots, and every pivot in between. I am your host, Ayana Major Bay, an actress who wants to educate, empower, and celebrate artists so they have no option but to thrive. On this episode, I am joined by Broadway actress and travel planner, Kris Roberts. She appeared in Beautifu, the Carole King Musical, and was currently in Little Shop of Horrors before the shutdown. She loves to travel and is proud to say she has now added travel planner to her resume. We discuss how she was afraid to reveal she had another passion, because as artists, this can seem taboo, how we should all keep the empowered feeling she hopes artists have discovered in this time, and discovering her travel business as another way to give her sense of worth. Here's our conversation. All right, y'all. So I'm very excited to say that joining me on this episode is the one and only Kris Roberts. Hey, Kris.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. So now the question I want to ask you, as now tradition in season 2, I don't ask how are you because it's such a loaded and broad question these days.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, 1, how is your soul feeling today? And 2, what are your hydration levels like? Like, have you had enough water today?
My hydration levels are great. I
Good.
literally have my water bottle in my hand.
Amazing. Amazing.
I never go more than, an hour without drinking from my water bottle. I'm a little obsessed. You will see it in my hand all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My soul is feeling good. I'm feeling good, happy, excited, looking forward to the future. I'm here for it.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. Thank you for those answers, because I break it down because I feel like people can actually answer that question and not how are you?
Right.
Because that's going to bring a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm excited to have you on because we're going to talk about one of my favorite things to do, which is travel.
Yes.
And you, ma'am, I got to do a little hair flip for you because I'm very proud of you, started your own travel planning business called InstaVenture.
Yes.
And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So you are out and about now, and it's on Instagram, and you got a website, and you're starting to plan. But I want to kind of take our listeners back to when it started, because you actually launched your business, I would like to say, secretly, if you will, or quietly, if you will, back in 2019. So kind of take me through what you were thinking and why did you launch it, but you're like, oh, I'm not going to really tell anybody. But of course, the pandemic hit and you're like, here I am, folks. This is me.
Right. So I love to travel. I have been to a lot of countries. And I'm also very type A in that I plan everything. I'm not the kind of person who travels and just, flies by the seat of their pants. I will write out an itinerary for each day, every hour of when I am traveling.
Okay.
And I went on a trip with my mother, and she was like, will you plan this trip for us? I was like, yeah. And I planned out every single thing that we were going to do. And she was like, wow, this is great. And then my brother came to visit me here in New York, and I kind of did the same thing for the weekend. I planned out everything, and he was like, wow, this is awesome. And both of them were like, wow, you're really good at this planning thing. And I was like, yeah, that's just what I do. And they were like, you can make this a business. I was like, okay, guys, no. And they were like, no, seriously, you can make this a business. And, people are always saying oh, you're good at this, you should make this a business. But that doesn't mean that you should actually do it. But I thought about that. I thought about what they said, and I was like, interesting. I would say this was about probably in August of 2019.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I am really good at this. And if I can do this for me, and I can do this for my family members and my friends, I can do this for other people too. And so I just sort of kind of was putting out feelers, and I was like, hey, if I know any friends that are traveling, let me know and I'll help you plan. And I was just kind of putting it out there. I also previously had a little quote unquote business, making websites and reels and things for actors, because that's also another skill that I have. So, but that was a business that, didn't really work out because I wasn't really committed to it. But
Mm-hmm.
because I build websites, I built myself a website for my business, for InstaVenture. And I was like, I've got a website and I'm telling people about it as if
Mm-hmm.
that's enough to make a business.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't really do anything. I didn't really put it out there. I kind of was in a place. I had just started. I was in the off-Broadway show Little Shop of Horrors
Mm-hmm.
at the time. And I was focused on that. And I was kind of in a place like, okay, I was getting a lot of attention for being on the show. People are like, wow, congratulations. So I thought it would be kind of weird for me to be like, oh yeah, also I'm really love traveling and I have this entire different side business doing this other thing. Like I figured people wouldn't care because I've always been celebrated for acting, for theater.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of didn't want to tell anybody. I kind of didn't want to advertise to people that I know that I had another passion, that I had another interest at all.
Mm.
I think that people are celebrated in theater for having such motivation and commitment.
Yeah.
I've been celebrated my whole life for people saying, wow, like you're so focused, you're so motivated. I really admire that. So to advertise that I was splitting my focus and that I was maybe not so super duper 120% committed to one particular goal was a little scary for me. I was worried about what people would say or think,
Mm-hmm.
which is so interesting to me that I put so much stock in what other people would think about my own passion and interests.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. That was just a little crazy, and it took me several months to get off the ground. I
Mm-hmm.
think I started my InstaVenture Instagram business account. Maybe I think my first post I think was in February of 2020.
Okay.
Um, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get out there a little more, a little more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it still took about, so I was in February. I would say I really got my first clients in October.
Mm.
So it took me from February until October of 2020 to really get it off the ground, to really invest in actual, you know, money into my business,
Mm-hmm.
to pay for a website, to pay for a domain name, to pay for advertising,
Mm-hmm.
to, things like that. Because starting a new business, I kept saying, well, I don't know. I don't have any income coming in. So I don't know if it's worth it to pay for an official website domain name. I just had like a little fake one,
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
not a professional one. But at some point, I had to tell myself, look, you're going to do this. You're going to actually do this and you're going to go all in. So that means you have to actually invest the money now. So I did. Had my first client in October, and it's just kind of been rolling since then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. Oh, I love it. That's amazing. That's amazing. And there's a couple things I want to touch on as you have shared your story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say it's, the first thing is about, you know, uh, I would say we're both kind of coming from the same cloth, meaning for most of your life, you were praised for theater.
Yes.
Oh, you're so good. Oh, great. Like your motivation to be an actress is great. And you didn't want to disappoint other people in saying, oh, I have another passion as well.
Right.
And it's not that I'm giving up on theater. I'm just kind of actually adding this passion or trying to make it coincide and work on it side by side.
Yeah.
And, knowing, and I'm slowly learning that passion actually isn't fixed.
Yeah. That is something that I really had to come to terms with, I think,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I've had exactly one passion my entire life
Yep.
since I was 2 years old.
Yep.
And, so, I mean, 2020 was crazy in a lot of ways, and I think for a lot of people, we learn things about ourselves, and
Mhm.
so not being able to perform, uh I think for me, and I think for a lot of people, made me realize like, oh, wow, I've been getting my self worth from performance,
Yes.
from theater. I've been getting my self worth from being on stage, from people applauding me, from, booking auditions, all of these things. And if I'm not working, then I'm not worth anything.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was a belief that I really had to challenge. Um, it was definitely a journey
Mhm.
because I mean that's my entire life. That's my entire life's belief.
Yeah.
So realizing that, oh, if I'm not working, if I'm not on stage, I still have worth.
Mm.
That was a huge realization. And so realizing that I have worth if I'm not performing made me realize like, oh, I also have worth if I choose to do something else. I
Mhm.
mean, I think I've definitely been guilty of this and not super proud of it, but when I hear of people who have dropped out of theater, who have left New York, and I mean, this is for years, for the past several years, people who have left New York, people who have given up on their Broadway dream and moved on to something else. I've always been like, oh, they couldn't hack it. Like,
Mm. Mhm.
oh, they gave up. They just weren't trying hard enough. They just didn't have enough passion.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair to those people.
Right.
And so for the first time in my life, I realized like, oh, maybe this is what those people, were thinking. Like,
Yes.
wow, something else could possibly make me happy.
Yes.
So it was really about giving myself permission to actually feel proud, feel some self worth, to
Mhm.
feel happiness and passion in literally anything other than theater, which I think, we all were forced to do this year.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's such an amazing thing to realize and to come to terms with and to be like, I'm giving myself permission to pursue the other things that make me happy or bring me joy or that I care about,
Right.
And it's like you care about traveling and you love traveling, oh, actually, I'm pretty good at planning and you actually like planning because some people don't actually like planning,
Exactly.
but
And
they
that
do
is
it.
why I made my business. For all of those people who hate planning, come to me.
Yes, exactly, exactly. There you go. There you go. And so it is, that having that other passion and like you said, giving yourself the permission to invest in it. Even when you said, "Oh, well, I'm not making any money off of it, so should I invest?" And it's like, "Yes." The answer is yes, 'cause you're investing in yourself. You were
Right.
literally investing in yourself and your business.
Yeah.
And now look at the outcome. And even with that, it's like, now because you now have this business that is yours, you can then decide if you wanna go back to performing, like, what roles you actually want or like, "You know what? I'll pass on this one."
Yeah. That's definitely important. I mean, I've been thinking like what role do I want this business to play in my
Mhm.
life? And
Okay.
obviously I still love theater. I still love Broadway. Like it's not an either or situation, it's a both. And kind of like you said, it's like, well, I have this second income. And I'm still in the starting stages of it, but who knows how big it can get.
Mhm.
Um, but it does afford me, if not even financially, at least emotionally,
Mm.
fulfills me
Yes.
enough to not have to say, well, if I'm not on stage, if I don't take this role that I'm not excited about, then I'm nobody. You're right. Like I can say, you know what, this is not a role that I'm particularly interested in, and I don't need to feel forced to do it because I already have something that makes me happy. So it's a both situation in that I can perform and I can plan at the same time, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And also because I am the owner of this business, I'm finding that if I feel like, oh, if I'm overwhelmed or I have, another project going on or whatever, I can just say, you know what, I'm not taking clients right now. Like
Right.
I have the power to shut down my business at any point in time to so that I have the flexibility to continue both careers.
Right. I love it. I love it. And I want you to say that again because I kind of heard a laugh kind of after you said that, but I want you to say it again. Say that I'm the owner of this business.
I am the owner of this business. I am a business owner. I
There
am
you
a
go, sis.
small business owner.
Yes, that's what I wanted to hear. Yes,
Yes.
you are a small business owner.
You're right. It's like weird to say.
Uh-huh.
It's like, "Oh, wow, this is a title I never thought that I would have."
Mm. Well, let's talk about that for a second. You know? So why I want to ask you the question, why did you think it was a title you'd never have?
I don't know. I think I personally have always been the kind of person who likes to, um even though I am a take charge person,
Mhm.
I always like someone else to be in charge of, business, whatever.
Yeah.
So I can just report to somebody else. They tell me what to do. I do it and then I leave for the day, something like that.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting to think like, wow, this is mine. If I
Mhm.
succeed, that's my success. If I fail, that is my failure. And I don't have anybody else to blame it on or push it off on. Like it is
Mhm.
all up to me. And that's a lot of responsibility.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's not something that I thought that I even wanted, I think.
Okay.
But it's fun. It's interesting. It is, thrilling and exhilarating to say, wow, look what I did. I did that.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just, I didn't really think that I would actually do it.
Right. Right. That's fair. That's fair. And even acknowledging that, going, yeah, there was a point in time that Kris in the past definitely thought I that's not part of my life.
Right.
But now it is. It fully is a part of your life. And I wanted to ask you, this is, kind of off the cuff. What's your favorite country, if you have one, to visit? And then what's your favorite country to plan itineraries for?
Hmm. Well, I think my favorite vacation that I've ever taken was to Bali.
Oh, yes.
Bali's in Indonesia, and it was just amazing. I spent 2 weeks there. It
Mhm.
was everything. I think about it all the time.
Okay.
I think about it all the time, like, wow, I wish I was in Bali right now.
Mhm.
Um, so that definitely is one of my favorites. And when I travel, I don't always want to go back to the same place because I want to go everywhere. So,
Yes.
if I'm going to
Yes.
spend money on going somewhere, I want to go somewhere new.
Mhm.
But Bali is one of those places I'm like, I cannot wait to go back.
Mhm.
um, my favorite place to plan itinerary for, you know what? I had a lot of fun planning New Orleans.
Ooh, okay.
There is so much to do in New Orleans. I love New Orleans. It is such a fun place to be. Um, Obviously, I have been planning these trips in the middle of a pandemic.
Mhm. Mhm.
So things are not exactly the same. So I did plan a trip for New Orleans for a client. And, I had to realize, like, oh, there are no music venues open. And that's sad
Mm.
because New Orleans is known for music.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been a whole new thing that I have to add into my planning. I have to make sure that the places that I'm sending people are open,
Mhm.
what the hours are, what the COVID protocol is,
Mhm.
if it's a different country, what the quarantine and COVID testing policies are, things like that. So it's an added level onto that.
Understood, understood. But see, now you're learning that in the beginning phases of your business. So now I feel like any challenge that comes your way, you'll be like, oh, honey, I got this. I planned itineraries for people in a pandemic. So, like,
Right.
anything else you throw at me, child, that's child's play.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So, with that, I want to ask you a question about, you know, the industry reopening, number one. How
Mhm.
do you feel the industry will look like? And I'm specifically talking about the entertainment industry will look like when we come back.
Mhm.
And that is there any word of advice that you would give other artists who are at this point, trying to develop their, I'll say, parallel careers, that so when the industry does come back into full swing, they're going to keep their side business just like you're going to keep your travel planning business.
Mhm.
But is there any advice you would give as well?
Hmm. Interesting question. I feel optimistic about the future of the entertainment industry.
Hmm.
Um, I think that we've kind of taken the step back and it opened up this sort of Pandora's box of
Uh-huh.
people being like, wow, I didn't even know these things were, laying there under the surface. Um, but now it's all out in the open. And I'm talking about, racial equality. I'm talking about um, just sort of health factors in the
Hmm.
room, rehearsal periods,
Hmm.
people being asked to do things that they might feel unsafe about, all sorts of things. Those have all come up to the surface. And so I believe now that the actors in this business are going to have more say in what
Hmm.
happens in their careers. I think the previous model was that if you're an actor, you go to an audition, you do what you can, and then you shut up about it,
Hmm.
and you're lucky to be offered something.
Hmm.
Um, I think now actors will have more agency. We won't be so afraid to say, you know what, this isn't right. You know what, I'm being treated, badly, or you know what, I don't accept this. And being able to say those things without fear of retaliation,
Hmm.
I think is going to be a giant step forward in our industry. Um, I am excited for, I think shows are going to come back. Audiences are excited to, be back. Um, I think it'll be a little slow going in just because everybody's being cautious. But I mean,
Hmm.
I think by 2022, for sure, like we'll be full swing. Um, what is my advice to artists? We are late in the game in the pandemic.
Hmm.
Obviously, we're a year in, so so
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people have done a lot of soul searching during this time and have
Hmm.
already found, what has made them happy during this time when they had probably what has made them happy their whole lives ripped away from them.
Right.
Um, so I hope that by this time, a lot of people have found their pivots. A lot of people have found um, some side hustles and things like that. Uh, and that's great. I think the
Hmm.
only advice I would give is to just remember this feeling. Remember how empowered you can feel, you know, doing something else, anything else, and doing it for yourself without, having to rely on what you're being told by these people in power, whether it makes you feel good or not. I just think that we've been empowered now, and that's a great feeling. And hopefully, we don't go backwards,
Hmm.
uh, you know, in that feeling that we don't just get back to where we were and then say, "Oh, you know what? I don't want to rock the boat again." Like, I hope
Hmm.
this is full steam ahead.
Hmm. Yes. Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Keep the feeling that you have of being empowered
Yeah.
and bask in it and keep it, bottle it up, bottle that thing up so that when something does, come up in the future, you can be like, I'm going to open this bottle of my feeling empowered And let me remind myself.
Right. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. So please tell everybody where they can find you. What's your website, your Instagram, all of the things.
My Instagram is at Instaventure Travel. That's Instaventure, INSTAVENTURE. It's not Insta Adventure.
Mhm.
And the website is the same, instaventuretravel.com. So you can find me on those things. You can see how to plan some trips. And, I think I'm proud of the things that I've created. So I would love for people to go look at them.
Yes, yay. And I'm proud of you too, sis.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. But before I let you go, there is something that I must say to you.
Okay.
And that is, I acknowledge you, I celebrate you, and I uplift you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're so very welcome. Kris, thank you so much for sharing. I completely understand where you are coming from in being fixed to one passion for most of your life, and now coming to terms with and accepting other passions. It is amazing to think of all we can be once we stop putting so much value onto other people's opinions of our passions. I hope we do all bottle up that feeling of empowerment Kris talked about as we proceed forward. I have put all of Kris's contact info into the show notes, and soon, sis, I may be hitting you up to plan my Bali vacation. Thank you again, Kris, and thank you for tuning in. I'll speak to you soon.